Hey everyone, welcome back to Safe Pest Sol. I'm your host Rachel, and today we've got a really interesting topic that you might not have thought much about before. Can mice bite you in your sleep? Yikes, sounds pretty creepy, right? Well, don't worry. We're here to clear up all your doubts, and we have two amazing pest control experts to help us dive deep into this. Joining me today are Chris, a pest control expert with years of experience, and Natasha, also a pest control pro who's got tons of valuable insight.
Welcome to both of you.
Thanks for having me, Rachel. I'm excited to dive into this one. Mice aren't as dangerous as some people think, but the idea of them biting you in your sleep can definitely be unsettling. We're going to clarify a lot of things today.
Hey Rachel, yes, this is an interesting one. Mice bites are rare, but we still need to talk about why it can happen and how to prevent it. A lot of people don't realize what could be lurking around their beds at night.
Exactly. So let's get started. Chris, Natasha, can you guys first explain if mice actually bite people while they sleep? Is this a common problem?
Great question, Rachel. To put it simply, yes, it's possible for mice to bite you in your sleep, but it's extremely rare. Mice are nocturnal, which means they're most active at night. They're more likely to be searching for food or shelter than to go out of their way to bite humans.
Exactly. Mice are naturally fearful of humans, so they usually try to avoid contact with us. However, if a mouse is desperate for food or feels threatened in any way, it might nibble on a human in its path, especially if the person is unaware or not moving. It's more of a defense mechanism than anything.
So they don't really want to bite us, but they might do it if they feel cornered or scared.
Yes, exactly. Mice bites are usually more of a last resort. It's important to note that they can bite around the mouth or hands if they're rummaging for food and get startled. But these bites are rarely serious and often cause minimal pain. The biggest concern is the potential for disease transmission, not the bite itself.
Also, mice are not aggressive creatures. Their bites are small and they don't carry much force. So most of the time, if a bite occurs, it's not going to result in anything major, like infection, unless there's pre-existing bacteria.
So, while it's rare for mice to bite, are there any risks associated with a mouse bite if it does happen?
Yes, there can be some risks, although serious complications are uncommon. Mice, like many rodents, can carry diseases, and a bite could potentially transmit things like hantavirus or leptospirosis. Salmonella is also a risk. However, these diseases are more likely to be transmitted through contact with mouse droppings or urine, not necessarily through a bite.
And let's not forget bacterial infections. Any animal bite, including from a mouse, can introduce bacteria into the body. If left untreated, it could lead to an infection. So it's always important to clean the bite thoroughly. And if you see any signs of infection, you should definitely see a doctor.
That makes sense. So the bite itself isn't usually dangerous, but it's still important to treat it properly, just in case. Now, how do you even know if it's a mouse bite? What would the symptoms look like?
Good question, Rachel. A mouse bite is typically small and shallow. It might look like a pinprick or have a slight break in the skin. Usually it's red or inflamed, and it could be a bit sore to the touch. Most of the time, there won't be any major bleeding.
Exactly. Mice are small creatures, so their bites are typically tiny. If you see a larger wound or punctures in a cluster, it's probably something else, like a larger animal bite. Mice bites usually don't go deep enough to cause significant damage, but there could be some swelling or discomfort around the bite.
So swelling and redness are the main symptoms to look for. Got it. What about treatment for these bites? What should people do if they get one?
Great question. The first thing you should do is clean the bite thoroughly with soap and water to reduce the risk of infection. Then, apply an antiseptic like hydrogen peroxide or rubbing alcohol.
Yes, after that, you can apply a cold compress to reduce any swelling. If it's painful, you can take over-the-counter pain relievers, like ibuprofen or acetaminophen, to ease the discomfort.
So it's mainly about keeping the area clean, using a cold compress, and managing the pain. But what if the bite starts showing signs of infection?
If you notice pus, increased redness, or swelling that doesn't go down after a few days, that's a sign of infection. In that case, you should see a doctor. If you're experiencing other symptoms like fever, it could mean a more serious infection or a disease, and you should seek medical help immediately.
That's right. As long as you're proactive about treating it and monitoring it, mouse bites are rarely a big concern. But like with any bite, it's better to be safe and consult a doctor if needed.
So let's talk prevention. How can we avoid these bites in the first place? I know keeping mice out of the house is key, but what else can we do?
Absolutely, Rachel. The best way to prevent bites is to prevent mice from entering your home in the first place. Seal cracks around windows and doors, and make sure all entry points are properly sealed. Also, make sure to keep your home clean and free of food sources that attract mice.
Right. Mice like to hide in cluttered areas, so keep things like food crumbs, pet food, and trash contained. Setting traps and using rodent-proof barriers can also help.
Awesome tips. So, in short, cleaning, sealing, and using traps are your first lines of defense. If you do happen to get bitten, clean the bite, apply a cold compress, and monitor for any signs of infection.
Exactly.
Thanks so much for the great advice today, Chris and Natasha, and thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below if you've ever had a run-in with a mouse, or if you have any tips for preventing mouse bites. We'd love to hear from you. See you in the next video, and don't forget to visit our site, safepestsoul.com.